And there you have it. Johan Wissa is officially a Newcastle United player. Isak is out, officially at Liverpool. And after weeks and months of saga, drama, talk, the transfer window is over. And we can now crack on with our season. Yes, guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. It is the morning after transfer deadline day. There's a few things to get into. I was a little bit AWOL yesterday. I was super busy with work and everything else. So I thought, you know what, we'll come on this morning and you guys can do for me is put a comment down below, rate Newcastle's transfer window out of 10. I'm going to be honest, it's tough because you can't really rate a window until like the end of the season, really. I'll come back to it at the end and I'll give my rating. Obviously, selling Isak, you know, if he goes to Liverpool, scores loads of goals, and you're thinking, well, you know, that even for all the money we got, is pretty annoying. But if he goes there, flops, gets injured, you never know what might happen. And then same with Wissa as well. The hope is he comes in at 55 million for a 29-year-old. We've well overpaid there, but if he comes in, scores 30 goals and we get Champions League, you could argue that, you know, it wasn't... People said that we're overpaid for Livramento. People said we're overpaid for Gordon, that we're overpaid for Isak at the time. So who knows? If Wissa goes and scores plenty of goals, then maybe it was all worth the money. But as I say, ratings out of 10 down in the comments below. Before we get on with this video, I'm going to do myself a little favour and I'm going to big up my charity run. I'm doing the Great North Run on Sunday. Loads of you guys have helped sponsor me. I'm getting so close to my target now with just a few days to go. My target's £1,500 and we have collectively, as a group, you guys have donated 1,090. So we've made over £1,000, which is insane. And if I could just hit that target, I would be so happy. So if you've enjoyed the content, if you've enjoyed what I've been doing here, then do me that favour and help donate. And I say it to me, it's for the Royal National Institute of the Blind. So it's for a great charity, great cause. I did 15k on Saturday. I did a lap around, I ran to St James's Park and back. That was my run, 15k. So I was very happy with that. Obviously, it's still not the full distance for Sunday. I mean, it's lovely and sunny outside today. I'm out and about today, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping there's a light drizzle over Newcastle and South Shields on Sunday to try and help me out. But yes, looking forward to that. So if you can help a man out, link is in the description. But as I say, yeah, crazy day yesterday. Let's start off with the two that we've just spoken about, Wissa and Isak. Both players went through. Obviously, Newcastle got Big Nicky in as well, so Nicky plus Wissa instead of Isak. You could argue that the pair of them could well score more goals than what Isak and Wilson did. Time can only tell. It's happened at a moment where we now go into an international break. It would have been nice had we had more players. I mean, it's great for Newcastle to have all these players on international duty. Hopefully it gives Wissa a bit of time to speak to Eddie Howe, bed in, gets the number 9 shirt. If you haven't watched it yet and watch it at the end of this video, don't go clicking off just yet. Wissa has done an interview, 12 minutes long, and it's awesome. I think it's probably the best one of the lot. He is clearly chuffed to be here, and talks about Papi Cisse. There's a little video as well, wishing him good luck. Talks about Alan Shearer. Talks about the number 9. Talks about African Newcastle players. Obviously, we've got the song. So yeah, it's full of love. Very smiley. Very excited. Like Eddie Howe player. Like that's just what Eddie Howe likes. We're so the same. As I say with Big Nicky. Obviously, he was super smiley, happy, excited to be here. It's just kind of that vibe, isn't it? And I appreciate that's not what football is. Like, these people should be highly competitive, very intense. Like, that being a happy, fun-loving person isn't always what you would, like, regard with, like, high-intensity performance. Normally, people are a lot more stressed and intense and, you know, maybe not as sociable. But for whatever reason, this kind of mix that Eddie Howe's got going on just works. You know, I would like to hope that, you know, at some point throughout that, Isak was that. And I would say it was obviously always seemed to be a bit more of a quiet lad than maybe some of the others. But watching his Liverpool interview, Um, yeah, I guess it's like a different reaction from the two players. Like, I don't want to come on and like slag people off essentially, although maybe he deserves it and probably does, to be honest. And we'll come on to that a little bit more in a second. But yes, Wissa, extremely happy to be here. One of the interesting ones of yesterday in the end was Asula. Reports were coming out that Newcastle were eyeing, it was 30 million start again. Newcastle were eyeing up a £30 million move for Asula out of the football club that didn't go through in the end. I have to say, if that had happened, I would have been a happy boy. And look at some of the things we did do. Like Lloyd Kelly out, 20 million, made a 20 million fee there. Longstaff, I think it probably had his day and was ready to go. He moved out. Target moved out on loan. Dubravka gone. Like, we actually made some great player movements out of the club. Like, these are all to take into your consideration for your rating at the end. Like, a lot of this stuff went under the radar in the end because the Isak stuff was such main headline that just some of the other stuff just got missed a little bit. But that was really good. Eddie Howe spoke about Asula, said that he thinks he's a good player, but was never overflowing when talking about him. I think the game he played against Leeds probably showed that, yeah, he is a bit wild, he is a bit fun. I think he can score goals, he has got a bit of skill. But I don't know if he's a striker, really. I think maybe he can be a number 10 or cut in off a wing, but to be number 9, it's not even necessarily about being fast, skillful. It's just knowing where to stand a lot of the time. And Asula was just, and Gordon's been the same. And I think people have said, we could have had 9 points already in the 3 games if only we had that number 9. And I don't want to jump too high too quick for that one. But I would definitely say that not having Isak available for those 3 games has cost us points. I wouldn't like to say how many it would be, and things aren't always that easy, but certainly we would have been in more of it. But yeah, if there was an opportunity to sell Asula, I think I would have taken it, especially at 30 million, another 20 million pound profit out of nowhere. If that price tag can remain for next summer, when maybe we'll get another year's super sub or bench out of them. I mean, that's the thing. If we sold them, we weren't replacing them. So fair enough, the money might have been too good to turn down at 30 million. Apparently Villa and Frankfurt were both interested in him. But I think probably having him available on the benches is probably about right. So that was that one. And then, yeah, so obviously Isak has made his move to Liverpool. Wissa did a very lovely goodbye message to the Brentford fans. Appreciate it. The Brentford fans might hated it. And if I was the Brentford... Look, if Isak did one, I probably wouldn't have liked it either. But the point is Wissa did one. He did a big thank you. And throughout his interview with Newcastle, consistently spoke about the love from Brentford. And I think, like, putting 2 and 2 together, I think Wissa obviously, went full Isak with his Instagram posts and wanting to leave the club. But I think in the interview, it seemed like he was quite keen and quite concerned not to come across as like, oh yeah, that meant nothing to me, I'm here now. It was very much like he wanted to make a point that, yeah, Brentford gave me the platform. Brentford got me to where I am. It's thanks to Brentford that I've been able to get this move to come and play in number 9 at Newcastle. Like, he was really trying. As much as the Brentford fans are probably booing him from the back, and I don't blame them because he was a bit of a pillock, to be honest. But he's Isak, none of that. And I would imagine, waking up this morning still not had it, that it won't be happening. Newcastle's statement for Isak leaving was the shortest statement. Isak played for us. Goodbye. No mention of the goals, no mention of the cup. I think it shows, obviously, that Newcastle were particularly unhappy. But some players have supported him in this as well, so I will come on to them in a second. But yes, clearly there was no love lost on Newcastle letting go of Isak. And we don't see the full behind the scenes, but Isak, when he did his Instagram post about wanting to leave, he thanked his players, he thanks the club, he did not thank the fans once. He has not done any sort of goodbye message to the fans, and in his interview, I think that was... You know what? There's been a lot going on. and like there's no love lost at this point. It just like it really is what it is. The signs around the city, Isak the rat and everything else. It's just I'm kind of happy it's over. I've mentioned this previously. Like I'm doing this interview now to kind of move on from it. This is kind of the end of the transfer window. This is us like getting over it. This is us talking about it, and then we'll crack on with the videos this week about what's to come this season. Champions League, Barcelona at home. You know, that's not far away now, and the new strikers we've got in who we can be excited about. So we don't have to talk about Isak anymore. But yeah, doing nothing to say goodbye, nothing to thank the fans. You know, it wasn't me. You know, I didn't do it. The huge flags, Alexander the Great, the Isak Swedish flag, like not bothered. He just isn't bothered. Like he was at Real Sociedad. He had a rubbish season for all intents and purposes. He was getting scouted for a couple of years, had a bad season, scored 4 or 5 goals, and then Newcastle bought him for 60 million. And as I said it at the start of the video, at the time, that was too much money. And Newcastle and Eddie Howe made him into a player. And nothing for Eddie Howe. Maybe behind the scenes, Isak has thanked Eddie Howe, or has he just never spoken to him again? I honestly don't know. I feel let down for Eddie Howe. And look, for me, whatever. But there's kids out there with Isak's number on their back. Yeah, and like they've not even had a goodbye. So I think it's poor. And then you listen to the interview. He was asked about how he feels arriving at Liverpool. He said it was mixed feelings, but he talked about how he feels relieved to be there. So suggesting that, you know, being locked away in Newcastle, getting paid 120 grand a week was, you know, some sort of trial, and then goes on to say how he's proud to join. Proud of the way you've behaved for the last 3 months. So yeah, that man just. I honestly, it doesn't seem like the same person that was, 3 months ago doing Geordie accent on the moor. Just as total turncoat, just totally turned his back, totally bogged off. In 20 years' time, maybe we'll hear how Isak felt. If I'm honest, I'm looking forward to Eddie Howe. You know how Keegan does the talks around Newcastle. 40 years' time, Eddie Howe might be doing them, and we can finally learn what was happening behind the scenes, because until then, I really don't think we will. But yes, Isak, the comparison, Wissa buzzing, really, really giving it back to Brentford, and Isak just sat like this, saying, "Oh yeah, I'm happy now, and yeah, I'm relieved that I've made." It's like, really? You look like you don't want to be there, to be honest. I'm sure he does. I mean, he's been fighting for it all season, but yes. No, thanks for nothing, Isak, essentially. Welcome, Wissa, to the football club, and look forward to it. But yes, as I've mentioned, a few players are getting a little bit of stick this morning for supporting Alexander Isak. I mean, I was looking before I went to bed last night, and I think Sean Longstaff liked his Instagram. Harrison Ashby liked his Instagram. Somebody else liked his Instagram. And I was like, well, funny enough, players who have left mostly that I've just mentioned there, but Sven Botman liked it, and I thought, well, you know what, he might be liking it as a joke, like a bit of an FU, like, yeah, whatever, here's your like, sod off, but he's actually put out a bit of an emotional post this morning saying, you were my best friend, and we know what happened, and it's like, oh, God, really, we're trying to get away from this, and bloody Sven Botman wants to publicly support the man who didn't want to play for us for 3 months, so what the hell, Sven? Read the room. Just text him and say, let's have lunch sometime. Don't do a public support for it all. So, yes, very strange on that front as well. So, for my rating on the window, 8. You know what? It could be 9. It could be like, it'll never, you struggle to ever get perfect. We could have just done with a few more. I think for numbers, that would have been 10. But I would say for bringing in a goalie that we needed, bringing in the centre-back we needed, bringing in 2 strikers in the end, bringing in a centre-mid, selling Isak for like a record British fee, the 3rd highest sale ever behind Neymar and Mbappe. Like, is that right? No. Oh, well, I think I saw had him less than Coutinho. Is that right? Yes. We sold him for a lot of money. Fair enough, it wasn't the 150 that was touted, but it was still a good fee. Look, if Isak goes on and flops at Liverpool and Wissa scores 30 goals, that fee was a good fee. So there you go. I've just covered off all the positions there. And then, as I've mentioned, we moved Dubravka on, we moved Longstaff on for a good profit, we moved Kelly on for a good profit. Like, essentially, at the end of the day, all of it, a lot of it as well, boils down to PSR, the restraints of PSR, Isak being able... Look, I think it was... I seen a tweet online, was it the True Geordie, maybe? Who, you know, I agree with sometimes and sometimes I don't. But what he'd said was PSR's doing what PSR does. Liverpool owners are worth 1% of Newcastle United owners, and yet they have just been able to buy Isak from us for a record fee, and we've had to do it for the sake of PSR. I agree with it. I think PSR suits you when it wants to sometimes. I think the real reason wasn't necessarily PSR. It was probably... But if we had all the money of the Saudis, we wouldn't have sold Isak. Absolutely not. After the way he behaved, we would have locked him away and made him clean the bathrooms for the next 3 years, because money means nothing, so who cares? So essentially, yes, it was PSR, because if you're going to have a player who doesn't want to play for you, then we need the money to help with PSR to go and do other stuff. If we had the money of the Saudis, we never would have had to have done it. But yeah, for me, I think it's good. I think it's 9 too generous. It could easily be. If Wissa comes and scores a goal a game, that's what it all comes down to. If we go and get Champions League football this season, if we compete for cups, if we beat Barcelona in 2 weeks' time, if we compete in the Champions League and the squad seems capable, if Chow does what he wants to do, as I mentioned, we've bought players who have been overvalued before and have turned out to be fantastic. Eddie Howe hasn't got many wrong. I'm hoping that it all just pulls together and it can be, you know, the season that we want to be after what has been very stressful and very intense with Alexander Isak. All right, guys, there you go. I've spoken for way longer than I planned this morning, so I will go finish my cup of tea and get started with work. As I say, I'm out all day today again. I'm out all week pretty much. Need to find a time to do a run somewhere, and then obviously it's the big one on Sunday. So if you do spotters on Sunday, give us a shout. Rob, Rubenstein, whatever you want. Give us a big wave. Shout Rubenstein, because then I'll know it's you lot, because I'll have Rob written on my top. Thank you for watching. Help donate. Link in the description, and I'll catch you later.